News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Matt Robbins with Quality
KVNU.
And we are now Alera Group. This is great news for you. Now you have more choices and strength of a top national broker in your corner with our local personal service. Every situation is unique. Now we can tailor coverages from deductibles and limits to risk management so it fits you even better. Let's compare options and tighten your program. Same friendly faces, same local office. Call 435-752-0101.
Hola, Cache Valley. It's time to turn up the music, bring your appetite, and celebrate at this year's Cinco de Mayo Community Celebration, happening Saturday, May 2nd from noon until 8 at the Cache County Fairgrounds. Feel the energy of live music, from mariachi rhythms to crowd-favorite performers. Come hungry because you'll find dozens of vendors serving up incredible food, from authentic Mexican favorites to sweet treats you can't get enough of. And bring the kids, because this is a full-on family fiesta. Bounce houses, climbing walls, piñatas, and plenty more to keep them smiling all day. Best of all, admission is free and everyone is welcome. This year's Cinco de Mayo celebration is presented by DD Auto and Salvage. DD Auto Salvage gives you the most money for your old metal. Presto Products, now hiring. Apply for a career today at Presto Products in Lewiston. And Members First Credit Union, large enough to provide the services you need, small enough to provide the service you deserve. Bring your friends and family to this year's Cinco de Mayo Community Celebration, Saturday, May 2nd from noon until 8 at the Cache County Fairgrounds.
With a look at your local headlines, I'm Will Theoright. The Cache Community Food Pantry recently received 6 pallets of food from a Just Serve truck. It's part of a nationwide initiative by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to deliver 250 truckloads across all 50 states. Now, the deliveries celebrate the upcoming 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Now, Cache Valley's delivery, which arrived last Friday, was part of a larger split load among Logan, Ogden, and St. George. Now, Pantry Executive Director Matt Whitaker said that the donation will significantly help local families in need. Now, Just Serve, a platform connecting volunteers with community needs, works with more than 100 nonprofits and nearly 50 faith groups in Cache Valley. Now, local Just Serve specialist Jaron Taylor praised the region's collaborative interfaith spirit. Meanwhile, the Utah Supreme Court is hearing arguments in 3 cases challenging the constitutionality of the state's new 3-judge panel law. Now, oral arguments are scheduled for September 9th. The challenges stem from plaintiffs involved in 3 high-profile lawsuits against the state: the League of Women Voters and Mormon Women for Ethical Government on redistricting, Planned Parenthood of Utah involving abortion, and also a youth climate group, the Fossil Fuels Permit Action. Now, passed during the 2026 legislative session, House Bill 392 allows the state to transfer civil challenges against Utah to newly created 3-judge panels. Now, plaintiffs argue that this violates, though, Article 7 of the Utah Constitution, which they assert permits only single-judge district courts. Now, the legislature also passed a trigger law to establish a separate constitutional court if the panels are enjoined. The legal battle is highlighting the growing tension right now between Utah's Republican-led legislature and the state judiciary. And finally, a Utah man convicted of attacking a 12-year-old boy for playing a doorbell ditch prank has been sentenced to 48 months of probation and ordered to self-deport to New Zealand. Tony Arnold Burnstone, a 59-year-old, was convicted back in April of second-degree felony child kidnapping. Now, a misdemeanor child abuse charge was dismissed with prejudice. The charges stemmed from an August 2025 incident in which Burnstone had used a bicycle to chase down a group of children after they had rang his doorbell and ran away. Now, according to court documents, when Burnstone caught the 12-year-old, he grabbed the boy by the neck, slapped him multiple times, and hit him in the stomach. Prosecutors said that Burnstone then restrained the child by his neck and shirt to return him to his parents. Now, Burnstone reportedly admitted to investigators that he lightly slapped the child but had denied ever punching him. Well, looking at mostly clear skies today as temperatures going to warm up over the next several days as we're going to get into the low 60s today and eventually the 70s by the weekend. I'm Will Theoright for KVNU News.
Hey Utah, have you heard? Nuclear energy might be coming to our state. Now, before your brain jumps straight into sci-fi movies, let's talk about what nuclear actually does. Nuclear technology helps power our nation's submarines, supports life-saving cancer treatments, and produces reliable electricity for millions of homes. That said, nuclear power also comes with a lot of misconceptions. Don't worry, we get it. Energy decisions matter, and Utahns deserve the facts. Learn more about nuclear and what it can mean for you. Visit energy.utah.gov/nuclear.
When it comes to your ear, nose, and throat care, you deserve expert treatment from a board-certified physician. I'm Dr. Andrew Goetz with Intermountain Budge ENT Clinic. Along with my partner, Dr. Matt Wilson, we provide comprehensive medical and surgical care, creating personalized treatment plans that fit you. With seamless coordination between specialties at Budge Clinic, your care is truly connected. Our convenient online platform makes scheduling and communication easy. Call Budge Clinic ENT today, 435-716-1420. Local care with Intermountain expertise.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com, and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams. It is a beautiful afternoon here in Cache Valley, Thursday, August 14th. Thank you for tuning in. It is warm, not as warm as it has been, not as warm as it might be later this week, but that gives us an opportunity to invite a very special guest to join us here on the show today to kick things off in light of a very, very interesting study that was compiled by law firms and insurance companies showing that heat, specifically dehydration, may actually be contributing to a close to 5% uptick in fatalities on our roadways in the summer months each season. With most of this, almost half of those accidents in the United States at large happening in the South. And some medical professionals weighing in saying, you know, dehydration absolutely could affect your motor skills and more, similar to a bit of alcohol. So something to think about there. Specifically, though, this is something, traffic and traffic accidents, it's something the state of Utah keeps a close eye on. For a lot of different reasons. Obviously, road planning with public safety in mind is primary, but also spotting trends and looking at ways that both public education campaigns, tax dollars, even involving nonprofits and more can help to keep us safe on the roadways and keep us driving. So with that in mind, I was picking through after our conversation last week with listeners expressing their frustrations on the roadways here in Utah over the last few months. We reached out to our friends at the Utah Department of Public Safety, and joining us now is Jason Metman. He is a communications manager at the Utah Department of Public Safety's Utah Highway Safety Office. And Jason, appreciate taking some time for KVNU today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, it's our pleasure. This is, you and I spoke earlier, and you said, what specific questions do you have? And I thought, well, I'm just going to set the interview up that way because I don't know. It is, when we talk about this, when we talk about traffic, we're all experiencing throughout the state, but more so on the Wasatch Front and definitely here in Cache Valley, some adjustments to change. Let's put it that way. There are a lot more people on roads that the road in front of the house I grew up on, actually was there recently and trying to make a turn on that same road. I thought, I don't remember ever waiting this long back when I was a teenager trying to get out of that driveway. But it's part of growth. It's part of change. It's part of where the state is headed. What are you seeing?
You know, I'm so glad that you brought up your study with those insurance companies that really, to me, says that people need to have their head in the game and be ready for the task of driving. It is not a complicated task once we get used to it, but it is so risky if we don't pay attention to it. So whether or not we're adequately slept or adequately in the mood for driving, right? If we're frustrated by the things that are out there on the roads that are maybe growing congestion, or people in our way as we're on our way to commute to work or off to play or whatever, we need to be mentally ready and physically ready to drive so that we're able to be alert and so that everybody can simply get to where we're going safely.
And is it fair to say, because I know I do this, but we take all of that for granted to some extent, right? We're so used to driving. We do it every day. It becomes second nature. I was thinking about this just recently, driving a manual transmission. I don't even think about shifting anymore. My hand just does it. This is, we learn habits, but then that also makes us kind of tune out a little bit, and we can get distracted by what we're listening to or something interesting on the side of the road. And those times we all have when you look down and go, whoa, I did not intend to be going that fast. That's a real thing, right?
Yeah, it's a great point. Our mission at the Highway Safety Office is to save lives on the road by changing people's behavior. So many things that happen on the roadway are a choice. It's a choice that we make to drive well. It's a choice that we make to drive poorly. Looking at your audience at Cache County, I examined a little about why people are crashing their vehicles in Cache County, and it's all due to our choices behind the wheel. It's a failure to yield the right-of-way when it's appropriate, following too closely, failed to keep in the proper lane, and going too fast for conditions. And then just behind that is an unsafe lane change. These are all things that we're choosing to do instead of following those signs and signals, practicing a safe speed, noticing the weather conditions or the roadway conditions or the traffic conditions, and then adjusting how we drive, not just because we're irritated at a delay or something, but making sure that we are being responsible with our own behavior to make sure that those around us are safe as well. It's our responsibility as a driver when we get behind the wheel to stay focused, no matter what conditions are out there.
Sure. That is, and again, something it's easy for all of us to forget because it slips your mind, every time almost that you're driving 2,000 pounds of machinery at a speed in which you or anyone else upon contact may not survive the incident. That if that's on your mind, you're a careful driver. But oftentimes, again, it's easy to not have that on your mind. And Jason, so for listeners out there, this is amazing. I had a chance to pick through this earlier today. And again, after our conversations about, what people were finding irritating on the roadways last week, we thought this would be a nice way to bookend that conversation. And I ran across highwaysafety.utah.gov. This is, again, the Utah Highway Safety Office, and Jason, you serve as communication manager there. It's a subset of the Utah Department of Public Safety, and there is just mountains of data here at this website.
Yes, I'm glad you're looking through it. Part of our mission at Highway Safety is to take every single crash report from any crash that happens on any roadway statewide here in Utah, and then study the trends. Our analysts look through all of that data and figure out where these crashes are happening and why, what conditions were on the roadway, what conditions were with the vehicle and the driver at the time. Of course, we study, the typical, visible things like were they wearing a seatbelt? Was the driver impaired? Were they using drugs? Were they drowsy? These type of factors that affect so many crashes and fatalities on the road. We study every bit of that. And then our job is to put a message out there and then deliver programs to communities that need it. We follow the data. If a certain area is having a problem with distracted driving, for example, we would fund extra enforcement to the police department in that area to conduct extra enforcement operations to help curb some of that behavior and reduce some of those crashes and fatalities. So we kind of cover the whole gambit of traffic safety statewide here and deliver those programs where it's truly needed and help law enforcement conduct their business so that drivers are making sure they're following the rules. We have partnerships with transportation, of course, to make sure the engineering is straight, and then also with driver behavior to make sure that we're all making the right decisions on the road to get home safe.
It's interesting, too, to think that, data could show trends in certain areas when it comes to distracted driving. And then you could maybe pinpoint, okay, there has to be a reason here. What's maybe behind this? And Jason, this was interesting as well. For a lot of you listening out there, a lot of this data at, again, the website, if you want to check it out, is highwaysafety.utah.gov. But it will kind of challenge some of your priors, the conventional wisdom out there. Like, Jason, this surprised me. When it came to fatalities on Utah's roadways, I think most people will be surprised to learn that adults going too fast are far more dangerous than teen drivers. And I think most people might be surprised to see that data.
Yeah. So for fatalities, the main spike that we see are people in their 20s and 30s. Those drivers are our target demographic for lots of dangerous behaviors. Speed is one of them. Seatbelts are another, and impaired driving is a third. If we could get people to simply buckle up and drive sober, we could greatly reduce the fatalities out on our roads. Something I did learn about Cache County as I was reviewing some of this data for your audience is that teen drivers, like you mentioned, are a little overrepresented in the crash data for Cache County.
Interesting.
Statewide, we see 21% of the crashes are going to be driven by teen drivers. Now in Cache County, it's up to about 29 or 30%.
Really?
That could just be part of your demographics. You have some younger areas in your county, but crash-wise, they are a little overrepresented.
Interesting.
Something we're really concerned about, and I love the scenery, the outdoors in Cache County. I know when I'm dragging my trailer anywhere, we're coming to Logan Canyon. And what we're really concerned about right now is motorcycle behavior.
Really?
With motorcycle fatalities. Right now, we're on track with statewide fatalities to have a normal year. We are slightly down on fatalities, not quite 5%, so that is encouraging to see a downward trend there. However, we are up by over 50% on motorcycle fatalities, greatly due to speed and helmets. Again, those are two choices that are so easy to make to get yourself ready for your ride by putting a helmet on and keeping your safety in mind and others' safety in mind as you ride to practice a safe speed.
Interesting. And again, this is something you're able to say, okay, this is where we should focus in our public messaging, in our public education campaigns, because you can look at the data and see an uptick here or there. That's fascinating in a way. Now, so maybe can you explain a little bit? I know it's complex, but how is the data collected?
So the data is collected anytime that you call police and they respond to your crash. And they do a crash investigation on a state form DI-9 is what it's called. That's the crash report form that every single police officer will write on any scene of any crash. We collect every single one of those throughout the year, and there are so many little fields on there that the officer will indicate pieces of his investigation and data that they collect on scene. And then that's delivered to our office at Highway Safety, and that's where we start our study. And we compile that data, and then some of that data is visualized for you on highwaysafety.utah.gov, which is what you were reviewing there. You can see some graphs and charts and, filter that data if you'd like, and that's open to the public. We want people to know how these crashes are happening, and if they're curious, they're certainly welcome to do their own research on our website. It's publicly available. And we're also glad to help people through that as well. But it's not just anecdotal evidence. It's not just what the troopers are seeing out on the road. We truly put the science and the math behind it to make sure that we know what we're talking about when we deliver enforcement to a particular area, or when that traffic stop is made on some erratic driving and someone's arrested for DUI, for example. It's data driven.
That's fascinating. And again, for listeners, you can see all of it with, as Jason mentioned, some great visualizations to make it easy to digest. You don't have to be a statistician to sort through this. Highwaysafety.utah.gov, again, is the website. And for most of you out there listening, we all have a concept of what distracted driving is. Eating, talking on the phone, texting, obviously. But many people forget even talking on the phone is a form of distraction. It takes a little bit of your attention, at least, away from what you're there to do, which is drive. eating, drinking, fiddling with the stereo or the nav system. But what many people might not know, and this surprised me to learn as well, distracted driving is much more likely to result in a distracted driving resultant crash is more likely to be a fatality. Jason, can you explain that a little bit? What is it about a crash that is caused by a distracted driver that might lead to a higher incident of that crash resulting in a fatality?
Well, if you consider that when we drive distracted, if you check that text while you're on an interstate, for example, you're going to travel the length of 3 football fields before you look up from your phone and finish your text message. In our observational research of distracted drivers that we've seen out on the road, it's up to 8 seconds that you are totally disengaged with what's happening on the road.
Wow.
Now, if you're at 5 miles an hour, you're not traveling as far when you're traveling 70 miles an hour. But either way, these distracted drivers are completely taking their attention away from the task at hand, and it's unacceptable. There is no reason for you to be that distracted from the task of driving your 2,000-pound machine down the road. And believe it or not, you mentioned food. I just got it here in front of me. We have more than 300 crashes a year in Utah due to people simply eating. Now, their eyes were probably on the road at that time, but just eating, having that burger in your hand from the drive-thru, this is what's causing crashes out there, is people losing focus of what's important while they're behind the wheel.
That is, and all of us, I think, can relate to some of this. In fact, I hate to admit it, but it's been less than 2 weeks since I had food in one hand and another hand on the wheel, headed down Main Street, Logan. This is a stark reminder that any distraction can result in an accident, and then again, very sobering to see the statistics here that an accident that results from distracted driving is more likely to be a fatality. That's the reason this data is important. Check it out, highwaysafety.utah.gov. And Jason, this isn't intended to frighten anyone or have anyone hang up their keys and never leave the house again, right? It's to say we can just make it much safer out there easily, right?
Absolutely. The thing that I'd like to emphasize on that is that safe driving really is normal behavior. When you're out there, I'm sure you had callers that were frustrated about people using their phone or driving impaired or not buckled, but safe driving really is normal. Most people are out there to do it the right way. 92% of Utahns put their seatbelt on and buckle up before they drive. They buckle their kids into a car seat when they should. However, unbuckled crashes are a great example that the severity of these crashes definitely goes up when you fail to take that step. Sometimes we see 50% of our fatalities that could have been prevented by a simple seatbelt or a car seat used properly. So again, these are choices that we make before we get in the car about our own behavior that are leading to positive or tragic outcomes. I would much rather be going to your barbecue than your funeral this weekend. Folks need to understand that if they, choose to drive inappropriately, that these crashes are violent. Your body is fragile. Please remember that the task at hand is not just affecting you, but it is affecting everyone else on the road as well. So please make sure that you're safe so that you can continue enjoying your summer.
Sure. Again, our guest, Jason Mettman. He's a communication manager with Safe Highways, a division of the Utah Department of Public Safety. I've linked to their website on our Facebook page, and again, a lot of really interesting data there. It's eye-opening. It will wake you up a bit. We all do it. None of us are innocent, right? And it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to not realize you're getting distracted. I think that's probably what happens to most of us. But a sobering reminder of the results of that in data form. And, thanks again. Jason Mettman, communication manager with Safe Highways, a division of the Utah Department of Public Safety, for being our guest. And we'll check back in, see how we did on at the end of summer officially, on the 100 deadliest days of summer. We'll see how we're doing as far as traffic and most dangerous roads in Utah. Those reports out soon as well. And thank you again to our guest, Jason Mettman, communication manager with Safe Highways at the Utah Department of Public Safety. And thanks to our listeners for being here as well. Stick around. Coming up on the show today, Rick Claspy. of the Utah Trucking Association on the lay of the land right now when it comes to trucking and what's impacting the industry in a very negative way that they're hoping you can help them change that. We'll talk about that later on. We'll also check in with our good friend Darren Perry, former president of the Northwestern Band of the Shoshone Tribe. He's written a new book, so we'll get to that as well. And State Auditor Tina Cannon, an audit recently released naming Utah State University and others, U of U, in a misuse of funds conclusion to the tune of $2-something million. How this happened and what the state auditor recommends as far as fixes to make sure it doesn't happen again. All of that coming up as For the People continues after this look at the news with KVNU's Will Feelright.
With a look at this hour's headlines, I'm Will Feelright. Well, Logan City officials are warning local motorists to be alert of traffic delays that are slated for 200 East over the next several days. Now, drivers are being advised to avoid the area of 1200 North to 1400 North along 2nd East as paving is taking place from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day. Now, the paving project is part of the reconstruction effort that's necessary to align 1250 North with Cache Valley Boulevard. Now, a new traffic signal will also be installed at that intersection to improve traffic flow and safety. Officials are advising that local access will still be available to 1250 North and local businesses. Now, flagmen will guide local traffic through that construction area. Meanwhile, Snowville has added a new wildland brush truck to help crews respond to wildland fires and other emergencies. Now, the vehicle was donated by the Bureau of Land Management through a grant opportunity under the Rural Fire Readiness Program. Now, the program provides excess federal fire equipment and supplies to local partners, including volunteer fire departments, fire districts, and rangeland fire protection associations at no cost. Now, the new brush truck will serve residents in Snowville and throughout Box Elder County. Officials said that the vehicle will help emergency crews respond more quickly and effectively to wildland fires and other calls. Now, through the Rural Fire Readiness Program, departments may receive firefighting resources such as wildland engines, water tenders, radios, and other essential equipment. And finally, the Federal Trade Commission is warning consumers to be on high alert of scammers who are promising to lower their credit card interest rates in exchange for an upfront fee. Now, the scam typically involves unexpected phone calls from individuals claiming that they can secure lower rates for a limited time. Now, to appear legitimate, fraudsters will often recite the victim's personal financial information and use high-pressure tactics to force immediate payment. Now, the FTC reminds consumers that it is illegal for any company to charge upfront fees for debt relief services. There are no secret shortcuts to reducing your interest rate. Now, instead of paying a third party, the FTC advises credit card holders to contact their credit card companies directly to negotiate a better rate. Now, consumers targeted by these deceptive schemes should hang up immediately and report the incident to the FTC or law enforcement. We're going to see mostly clear skies over the next several days, but still a small chance of some isolated thunderstorms throughout the afternoon as temperatures going to be in the low 60s today, mid 60s for tomorrow, and it looks like we're still going to see some 70s headed our way for the weekend. And weather this hour is brought to you by the Cinco de Mayo celebration. It's coming up this Saturday from noon to 8 at the Cache County Fairgrounds. There'll be free admission to enjoy live music, cultural performances, plus also dozens of food vendors who will be serving up authentic Mexican favorites. It's at the Cache Valley Media Group's Cinco de Mayo celebration presented by DD Auto and Salvage, Presto Products, and Members First Credit Union. And I'm Will Feelright with your KVNU local headlines.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The Iran war now hitting the 2-month mark with talks stalled and gas prices reaching their highest in 4 years. Here's ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
When you look at a week ago, we're about almost 30 cents, and I bet we'll get about 30 cents higher when you look at the difference. And that is a significant increase in just a short amount of time. So that's really what's changing right now, and that's because of the significant moves that we've seen in oil prices. We see oil now back above $100 a barrel. We're continuously seeing these big percentages in oil prices going up, and that's why that's translating into higher prices at the pump.
Despite the war, consumer spending remains robust. Government figures showing the gross domestic product regained momentum in the first quarter of 2025. President Trump posted that he spoke to Tennessee's Governor Bill Lee, claiming the Republican vowed to work to redraw the state's congressional maps in an effort, he says, to gain another GOP House seat before the midterm elections. This is ABC News.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Major market indexes were up Thursday. The Dow up 790 points at the close. The S&P 500 rose 73 points to approach record close territory, and the Nasdaq gained 219 points. Google's parent company Alphabet rallied 9.1% after reporting quarterly profits that almost doubled analysts' expectations. Shares of Caterpillar and Eli Lilly showed double-digit gains of strong quarterly earning reports. Oil prices surged on worries that the Iran war will have a long-term effect on the crude supplies. New data out Thursday shows prices rose in March at the steepest rate in almost 3 years, driven by soaring gas prices. President Trump says he's moving certain tariffs on Scotch whiskey in honor of the White House visit by Britain's King Charles III and Queen Camilla. Amazon launching a new feature that uses AI to generate a podcast-like conversation with two voices discussing reviews of a specific product. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
Did you know you can cut your Rocky Mountain power bill by 40 to 50% without a single solar panel? With the new time of use rates, power is 4.5 times more expensive in the evening, but cheap during the day. At Greenbox Solar, we install smart home batteries that charge up when electricity is cheap, then power your home during peak hours. Solar is totally optional and can be added in the future, but savings are guaranteed. Drop by Greenbox Solar's showroom in South Logan to see the hardware for yourself. Visit our website at poweredbygreenbox.com.
Finding comfort outdoors by upgrading your landscape is easy with the creative touch of Canyon Landscaping. Imagine beautifully designed planting beds, an outdoor patio with landscape lighting to help you relax, entertain, and enjoy your home. Your project designed around your lifestyle and professionally installed, on budget and on time. See their work at canyonlandscaping.com or call 752-3838 to get started right away. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
Do you know a champion in our community? Nominate them for the KVNU Above and Beyond Salute. Every Friday morning at 8:30, we'll spotlight a firefighter, law enforcement officer, healthcare worker, or other deserving individual and give them a $40 gift card to Firehouse Subs. Submit your nominations for the Above and Beyond Salute by visiting kvnutalk.com. Help us recognize the champions in our communities. The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs on News Talk KVNU, the voice of Northern Utah.
My son Ian was diagnosed with a brain tumor at the age of 16 months. The outlook was pretty rough. I mean, it was, we had no hope until St. Jude rescued us. I mean, they saved him. To this date, we are 12 years into this journey, and from day one, we've never once seen a bill. It gave us the peace of mind to know that we're there with our son, and we're going to beat cancer together. Now, he is doing really, really well. He's alive because of what St. Jude has done. He's here because of the doctors who came before, their blood, their sweat, their tears, the knowledge accumulated and shared, with everyone else around the world. This is how we get rid of this, how we help kids beat cancer all over. It's the future.
Together, we will make cures possible for every child everywhere. Learn more at stjude.org.
Do you ever lose your balance or feel dizzy for no apparent reason? Do you hear ringing in your ears or have migraines? Well, you're not alone. 1 in 5 Americans will experience these symptoms, which could be signs you have a problem with your inner ear or vestibular system. Because these symptoms are invisible and hard to describe, they are often overlooked by doctors and dismissed by family and friends. We can help. Call the Vestibular Disorders Helpline at 800-837-8428. That's 800-837-8428. Or visit us online at liferebalanced.org. Sponsored by the Vestibular Disorders Association.
I'm Julie Bowen. Our country has one of the highest rates of infant death. Let's work together for stronger, healthier babies. Visit marchofdimes.com to find out how you can make a difference.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. I say it all the time. We don't get excuse enough to talk about dinosaurs here on this show. Not nearly as often as I would prefer, but not the case today. An announcement recently that Utah State University East and Eastern, I guess, it works either way, and some of the curators and researchers involved with USU Eastern, as well as some of our most iconic dinosaur museums and tourist attractions here in the state, have been recognized in the form of a partnership that is developed that will actually put Utah State University and researchers right in the forefront of the latest in curating and making publicly available everything we don't know already, which is a lot, I've been told by our guest, about dinosaurs, about the Jurassic era, So joining us now to talk about what this means, Josh Lively, who is a curator, official curator with the museum and Utah State University Eastern. Here's what Josh had to tell us about what this big announcement means.
But this is really great for us because being the nearest accredited museum with an actual collection, a paleontological collection, this allows us to build, from this local resource and be able to better share it with our local community as well as visitors that are coming down the Highway 6 corridor, because we are a pretty big stop between Salt Lake and Moab.
Sure. This is, and a big part of this partnership is that there's, so much coming still out of this quarry. As you said, this one site that has supplied so much of what we know about this era and others. But that then something has to happen with all of that, right? And that's where you come in as a curator of paleontology, all the researchers that you work with. Someone has to take that and make sure that it can be a learning tool for generations to come. And that's not easy, right?
You're absolutely right. From a research standpoint, one of the foundational parts of science is reproducibility. We conduct our studies, whatever it is, physics, chemistry, or in our case, paleontology, and you've got to be able to go back and take those same data and replicate your studies. And, that's really, one of the foundational things about science. And for that to happen, these fossils that are the basis for different research projects, whether it's from this Cleveland Lloyd dinosaur quarry or anywhere else, they have to be available for other researchers to come study. And that's where museum collections come into play. I like to explain us kind of like a fossil library. The only difference is with a library, you can reprint books. These fossils are all one-of-a-kind data points. So our task as a museum with a collections, the fancy word for that, we serve as a repository for fossils from both federal and state land. The task with us is to basically take care of these fossils forever, in perpetuity. And it's not just for the researchers, though. The thing that folks need to understand is that when there are fossils coming off of public land, we don't own those, the museum, The federal government doesn't own those. Every citizen of the United States owns those fossils. We have a small part of that. So we actually are not just serving researchers. We're serving the American people by taking care of these fossils in perpetuity. So we take that very seriously.
Sure. And this is, this is a job that will never be done, right? There will never be a time when you say, all right, everything's out of the quarry. And
you're absolutely right. Yeah. Some smaller quarries, we can, give our blessing. All right, this one's done. We can't find any more bones. This one in particular, though, just keeps going into the hill. It is a massive bone bed. And the beauty in that is that, we've collected a lot of fossils from this site, we collectively being the paleontological enterprise, but there's still more in the ground. And that's why this was actually designated a national monument and a national natural landmark, because folks can actually go to the quarry and see bones in place. Now, it's a challenging management conundrum, because leaving fossils in place opens them up to damage, but even just with the environment, changes in humidity, shrinking and swelling of the clay in the rocks itself can damage the fossils once they're exposed. But it does provide the public with the opportunity to see these fossils in place in the ground, but then also come to our museum and see them prepared and restored in life position in a couple of our exhibits.
This is amazing to see, and I really appreciated that. Having visited, some of the other locations here in Utah, Dinosaur National Park and others, one of my favorite things about the visitor center there at the Cleveland Lloyd Dinosaur Quarry, which is, for those out there, not a very long drive from Provo. If you're looking to add this to your summer escapades, this quarry, you actually could step out on this little platform into what was basically a live paleontology dig. You could actually see what paleontologists do when they go out there and they're unearthing these fossils, and that was fascinating to see, and really kind of drove home what careful work this is.
Oh yeah, that's you're absolutely right, and especially at a quarry like this where the bones are so dense, it really is bone on bone. We're working another site out in eastern Utah right now, where our museum is actually doing the excavating, and it's probably denser. One of the few sites that's where the bones are more densely packed than Cleveland Lloyd, but there aren't many that are more densely packed than Cleveland Lloyd. And one thing that's really neat, off and on, you can actually sometimes see active excavations going on at the quarry. There's a crew that comes from the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh and excavates there most years. They're going to be the Bureau of Land Management is actually going to be replacing the building over the quarry this season, which is why we got all of these fossils. The mitigation company came in ahead of time to collect the fossils where the new building footprint was going to be, and so they weren't destroyed during construction. And so there probably won't be any active excavations this year, but in future years, I think definitely that university, if not the BLM itself, will provide the opportunity for folks to see that active dig, which is a rare thing. Most places the digs are already done, or they're off in very remote places where the general public can't get to.
Sure. Again, speaking with curator of paleontology with USU Eastern, Josh Lively. This comes on the heels of an announcement that Utah State University Eastern Prehistoric Museum is not only going to continue but grow its role in fossil research, and this is through a new collaboration with the Bureau of Land Management. And the focus will be on this massive treasure trove that is the Cleveland Lloyd Dinosaur Quarry and Jurassic National Monument. And this partnership will actually position USU Eastern to be center of all this, housing and preparing the fossils for future research, quarry, the own mitigation projects in the quarry ahead of construction of a new monument, but also making sure the quarry is accessible to researchers for generations to come. And Josh, what is it that? Well, a couple of questions. What is it about USU Eastern's work that got them the the spotlight on this one, to be chosen as the center point for all of this?
Yeah, so I think one of the advantages we offered, because the BLM did put this up for a contract bid, and I think one of the advantages that we offer is that we are the closest museum to the site itself that already has a paleontological staff. We've got a lab space that we actually just recently renovated. We have a collections facility, and so I think logistically it works well for the Bureau of Land Management, especially since the Price Field Office, which is less than a mile away from the museum, is the one that actually manages the national monument out there. But also, I do think they really take their role in the community very seriously. This museum started as a community endeavor over 60 years ago, and really is a place to not just show tourists coming through the area, but locals, the resources that are right here in their backyard. So I think that was, one of the big sort of hidden advantages for the BLM wanting to work with us.
This is amazing stuff. And I should mention, too, that you also drive through some of the most beautiful parts of Utah to get to the quarry and museum. So another reason to make this part of your summer trip, if you can, traveling in the state. And Josh Lively, curator of paleontology from Utah State University Eastern. Final question here for you, and the hardest question, because this gets us into the science of, again, this big announcement that USU Eastern Prehistoric Museum would be teaming up with Bureau of Land Management to serve as a center point for curation and collection on this quarry that is still producing and answering questions we didn't even know we needed to ask yet about this era and others. But what is it about the Cleveland Lloyd Dinosaur Quarry and this entire Jurassic National Monument? What is it about this area that makes it such a treasure trove?
It's really a world-renowned site because of how odd it is. It's not just how many fossils come out of this one site, but it's the fact that almost 70% of those fossils are from one dinosaur, Allosaurus. Allosaurus,
the Utah dinosaur, right?
Yeah, it's our state fossil. It is, and so that is in part because so many Allosaurus fossils have been excavated from this one hole in the ground, going all the way back to 1928. I think is when the initial excavations started, and think about that though. The top predator in the ecosystem, Allosaurus, makes up 70% of the bones from this one quarry. Now, if you go out in the mountains today or in the desert today, are 75% or 70% of the animals that you see coyotes or wolves or bears? No, you're seeing, rabbits and mule deer and other things. So sure. One of the big questions is, why the heck do we get so many predators at one site? And that's still a question 100 years into excavating in this locality that researchers are still very interested in. So that's one reason why this site is so fantastic, but also because we have so many of one species of animal. We can really start to ask biological questions about Allosaurus, which, again, is our state fossil. Normally there's so many times where when you see a new dinosaur being named, in the news, it might just be based on one individual fossil, one skeleton. And it's hard to look at things like variation and how the animal changed as it grew when you're only working with one example. But in this case, where you've got thousands of bones, everything from babies all the way up to adults in one site, you can really start to think about these as living, breathing animals and ask the question, all right, how did their diet change through life? How did, the musculature across the animal change as it grew? And really the only place on the planet that you can ask that question about Allosaurus is this quarry. So the fact that we're still growing that collection allows for really even, research questions that we haven't even thought of yet to actually be able to be asked about Utah's state fossil.
Sure. And this is, again, if you and I joked when we were talking earlier this week to arrange this interview that you said one of the conventional wisdoms that is often joked about is that we know a lot, but we know nothing.
Absolutely, yeah. I should quote our state paleontologist Jim Kirkland on that. I heard him say it one time, and it kind of stuck with me. And it actually is. It's true. Where just when we think we have this group or any other group of animals figured out in the fossil record, we come up with brand new methods to study them. Back in the 80s, for example. We never thought we would know the color of dinosaurs, for example. Dinosaurs are just a bunch of bones that are, discovered in the ground, and no soft tissue is preserved. We know sometimes, certain rare soft tissue is preserved, but then in the 90s, these amazing fossils started coming out of China with feathers preserved on some of the meat-eating dinosaurs. Folks started looking at the microscopic structures of the feathers and realized, these structures match up with the structures on modern bird feathers, so we can relate them to one another and say that dinosaur was red or black or a combination of multiple colors. And so, just a few decades ago, we would have never imagined that we would be able to put color on the flesh or on the feathers of dinosaurs. But here we are. So, so many opportunities that we haven't even imagined to address these animals in the future. So I'm excited to be a part of that and hopefully help lay the foundation for future people to look back at us and say, gosh, you guys knew nothing.
That's right. But slowly we're, always learning more. And to me, it's really fun to talk about this and to highlight the fact that so much of what we do know is coming from right here in Utah, from research that's being done oftentimes in our own backyards. And that also as Utahns, we have access to these museums and all of the dinosaur parks throughout Utah. It's just a real opportunity, and it's a pleasure for me to be able to spotlight it here on the show today. And Josh, I really appreciate your time doing this today. And you have to promise, though, if something new is discovered soon, you got to call us first, all right?
Okay, hey, I will do.
Break it here on our airwaves.
We've got a few new things that are going to be coming out over the next 2 years, so I'll definitely reach out.
I'm excited. That is... get out and enjoy these. The museum side and the visitor side of the Cleveland Lloyd Dinosaur Quarry and the Jurassic National Monument include, of course, the museum building there with some cool displays and great signage, but also a pretty cool trail system that actually gets you out into the quarry a bit so you can see what it would be like to actually be a paleontologist doing this research. It's an amazing and very cheap vacation for a Saturday afternoon. Not a long drive from Provo, to be honest with you. So please check it out. Our guest again, they're talking about the Cleveland Lloyd Dinosaur Quarry at Jurassic National Monument's new partnership through Utah State University's Eastern Prehistoric Museum with the Bureau of Land Management. They will serve as the center point for fossils recently collected, their curation and their preservation for future generations of researchers. It's an amazing thing, and again, right here in our own backyard. So thanks again to our guest today, Josh Lively, Curator of Paleontology at Utah State University Eastern. And Josh, again, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been our pleasure. And again soon. And for our listeners, stick around. Coming up in hour 2 of today's show with the convention out of the way and, signatures gathered already. We knew a primary was coming, but it's coming up sooner than you think. We'll revisit our conversations with both State Representative Carrie Ann Lisenby, the challenger in this 2nd congressional district race, but also the incumbent, Congressman Blake Moore. We had a chance to speak with them both in the weeks leading up to convention. We'll revisit those conversations. We will have them join us here on the show in person, hopefully multiple times between now and the June 23rd primary date. But these conversations we had with them ahead of convention really kind of lay out exactly where both of the candidates are coming from, and because of recent headlines, are actually even more timely than they were when we first had the conversations. I kind of love it when that happens. So revisiting our conversations with both State Representative Carrie Ann Lisenby up first. She won the coin toss, and Congressman Blake Moore ahead of the June 23rd primary. That's coming up next here on KVNU Logan in hour 2 of today's show. And stick around. We've also got a little bit of fireworks happening in this primary. We'll talk about it all next here on KVNU Logan.
Covering all the news. Stay with 610 AM and 102.1 FM. Breaking news and stimulating talk.